Hey y'all. Well, it's been a few days since we got on here. If y'all got a second, we'll take a little walk and do the evening chores. I just got done planting the corn and found out that old Hank is a crow chasing dog, and that was a good thing. Beautiful day here in Nacogdoches, Texas, East Texas, if you will. I think that old eclipse that gave us a little shorter day for a few minutes anyway must have confused the weather, and it thought it was fall and time to get cold again. Well, it didn't get cold, but got a little airish the last few days. But I think that's winter's last stand, such as it was, because that's over with. If y'all are checking in, let me know where you're at across the country and the world, for that matter. I go back through and read the comments later and try to sound off a few of them here in the live feed. Sissy, I guess, is going to hang back at the house. She's scared she's going to miss going back in this evening as the sun's waning over there. Now, Waylon's my sidekick now. He don't with me planting that corn out there. No, I said Hank's a crow chasing dog. I'm used to Sissy chasing chicken hawks and things, and maybe even a buzzard if they get too close. But I was headed out here to get my corn in. That rain was perfectly timed. I'd put out the fertilizer last week and needed it watered in, and good Lord sure took care of that for me first of the week. Put me behind on other things, but we'll take what we can. So fertilizer was all melted in, and I was coming out here to put the corn in. And as I'm approaching, those that live in the country or deer hunters, or those crows are definitely wise, conniving rascals. And I think over time they've learned that a tilled field means there's seed coming, because there was 2 or 3 of them up in the tree tops where they not normally are. I was like, man, goodness, well, I guess my corn's going to get picked over. About that time, old Hank come around me, Sissy in tow, and Waylon was trying to keep up, and he was after those crows and chased them out of the pasture. So he can be aggravating, dragging things up onto the place, but I guess he's worth his weight. I guess I'll have to forgive a little digging. He may tear up a few pea plants, but in trade for the whole, that's pretty good dog to have. Fine, chickens are good. Well, I done walked myself into a corner. I guess I need to give these goats some pellets. I was going to go in the pen with them. Apologize about this signal, y'all. I try to pause when it says trying to reconnect, so we'll get through one way or the other. Well, now misplaced my trough or my scoop. Come on, Johnson. Well, I tell you, the last few days have been mind-blowing. I guess 1st of April made 5 years that we've been on this old place. Wait a minute. No, it'd be 6 years. Wow. Got here in 2018. So I saw some old videos come back through the memory feed, and had no idea we'd be at this juncture today. Yet here we are. I don't even know how to communicate it. Seeing the Facebook comments and the shares, for lack of a better word, all across. Got an alert from Facebook. I don't even know how to quantify this number. So our message of just simple country living and stories of faith and help your fellow man and that all, over 1 million people has been reached in the last 60 days through our humble little page. So just humble and blessed to have all of y'all along as we plow through this old life, right? And try to keep a good attitude. That's what I'm trying to do today. I got some pretty sad news. Knew it was coming from a dear friend out in Central Texas. Guess I knew Mike about a decade. He passed last night at the end of a sickness and a battle with Parkinson's. And he was pretty cavalier about all of it. We talked along the way. I didn't get out there to visit him quite as much as I wanted to, but visited him last fall when the news of what was ahead came along. But Mike was a man's man. I always tend to hang out with a little older crowd, I guess. no real reason. I guess that's just who I gravitated to over my life. And, you know, we don't have that many friends at the end of our days. We have acquaintances and people that we call friends along this path. But I guess it said if you have a handful of them at the end of your days, then you've really got something. Mike was one of those. Sure was. He was always stern in his beliefs. He was a kind man. And we worked together. We met in Central Texas around a community action group that we put together. And just about 20 of us citizens. We had a name and all that, but it was kind of a behind-the-scenes deal. Nobody took credit for it. We just kind of showed up and helped folks and out of our own resources and then moved on down the road. I say that because that's the kind of man that Mike and Julie, Mike was, and his wife Julie, there in Waco. But we'll lay him to rest with full military honors at Fort Hood. And no, I'm not calling it the new name. It's Fort Hood, clean. next Wednesday. He was a career Army man. He said he was a Golf 55. Now, I didn't serve, even though I wanted to real bad, but health kept me out of it at that age. So, you military guys may know what that is. It's a G50, 55 Golf is what it was, excuse me. And a nuclear technician. And that was in the years before I knew him, but if I was going to trust anybody to be around one of them big bad boys, it'd been Mike Howington, for sure. He was raised by a different code up in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains in West Virginia by his granddad, who he called Papaw, and that was his dad. He was a coal miner, not Mike, but his granddad was. And he said from an early age, his granddad instilled in him that education was his path and to get educated, because he was not going to be a coal miner. That wasn't what he's going to have for Mike. And I'm writing up some things now, and I'm tardy to the dance, I guess. But we got to get it done. And I sat and visited with him. Of course, we did a podcast several years ago, and got to spend a lot of time together. So I feel like I know his heart. I learned a lot of stuff from Mike. He was always that constant guy that I could go to. He never got rattled. But I guess when you've got a career working around a nuclear weapon, you can't afford to. So that kind of makes sense. But anyway, my thoughts are with the family. Of course, everything was prepared. And we'll go celebrate him mid-next week. But anyway, he was, my kids were fond of him, and good man. Where was I going to the goats? I could talk about Mike all evening, but there's another time and a place for that. But love and respect him and appreciate his influence on my life, for sure. Right? But there's certain people you want beside you, right? But let's see if I can find them little baby goats. Oh, Waylon's confused. He said, Dad, you're walking back and forth, and Sissy's up on the porch saying, I've seen this already, Waylon. Just get used to it. Oh, well. That's how it goes. While we're looking for the goats, let me see who's on. Well, there's Sissy. Heard me talking about you, didn't you? Come on. Come on, girl. Let's see. I'll read off some of these comments real quick if y'all check in. There's my buddy Steven. Oh, I forgot the hat, brother. It's in there all nice and clean. I'll have to wear it next time. I got out here working and forgot to slip it on. Thank you, though, for checking in. There's Miss Gina. Good evening to you. Who else we got on here? Karen. I hear my little one's hollering at me. Thank you. Karen's in North Carolina, she says. Well, good evening to you, Kenneth. Here, I got to turn it around. Here comes the madness. Hank, what do you think? Yep, Waylon found his playmates again. They don't like to play like Waylon plays, though, for whatever reason that is. The silly signal. Anyway, we'll go back over the roll call here in a minute. Thinking about Mike and friendship and all, I was reminded of a team of botanists, scientists of sorts, that went around and looked for rare species of plants that hadn't been discovered necessarily yet. They were convinced they were out there. They'd been on a journey for months, and it was up in the high mountains in foreign land, and was looking down at a small crevice at a rare flower they'd never seen, and was pretty convinced that it was a species that had never been discovered. But they had to get to it to figure out what it was and to catalog it. Well, there were men of a certain size, and this crevice was pretty treacherous, and it was at least 20, 30 foot down, and they wasn't quite sure, even if they had a rope, how that they would navigate that space. Well, they located a rope, but still they were all too big to really go down in the crevice, but time was wasting and the sun was starting to make its journey down when they saw a group of children watching them, and they motioned for one little young man to come over that had been watching intently. And he said, "Son, we'll pay you a large sum of money if you'll let us lower you down there and pick that flower for us in the plant and bring it back up to us." The little boy said, "I don't know about that." He said, "Just a minute." So the little boy took off and ran back the way he'd come. A few minutes later, he returned from his little village. There was an old gray-headed man, walking behind him slowly. And as they approached, the little boy said, "I think I'll take you up on your offer for the pay, but only if this man holds the flower." They said, "Well, that'll be fine, son. Can you tell us who that is?" They said, "Yep, that's my dad." Trust, right? He wasn't going to put it in the hands of strangers. He put it in the hands of someone that he knew would never fail him. I'm blessed to have a good one for sure. Been a friend of me and a dad all my life. No, we're good friends, and I appreciate him. One story that really has always stuck with me, and I see it in a few different contexts, whether it's fable or whether it's not, it recounts just the same. It's of a Cherokee rite of passage. Young men that were coming of age in a tribe were called upon to execute one challenge to make that passage. The challenge was that they would be taken out in the middle of the wilderness, sat on a stump, blindfolded, and would have to remain there motionless, without crying, without fear, and without removing that blindfold for the duration of a night. A certain young man was of age, and it was his time to make this rite of passage. So the village elders took him out in the wilderness and put him on the stump that he was to sit on all night, motionless, blindfolded him, and said he could remove the blindfold when the sun pierced through the next morning. Well, so be it that a storm had kind of rolled through that area that evening, and the wind howled and whistled, and every noise made him kind of jump inside, but he remained motionless and still. He didn't wince, he didn't budge, and he didn't remove the blindfold. He made it through the night. He was cold. As the sun rays started coming through that little piece of cloth that had blinded his eyes, he knew he had made it. As he removed the blindfold, he was shocked to see, sitting right next to him on the ground, quiet and still, armed to the teeth, his dad. He didn't know he was there, but his dad stood there as a protector through the night on his rite of passage. And it got me to thinking how much that's like God in our lives. We can't see him because we're blindfolded by the eyes of mortality. Can't really see that spirit world. But we have to trust this rite of passage, not shake, not be fearful, persevere through all the wind and the scary noises and the things that go around on us, knowing he's sitting right there. Can't see him, but he's there. And should we get into a jam, he'll get us out if we let him and trust him, right? I thought that was a really beautiful antidote, both on a secular and a spiritual level for me. It's like my babies have given up on me. I got the chickens out where they can move around a little bit this evening. I've expanded their pen. I will tell you, we lost a couple of the babies, and I really don't know how. I've raised enough chickens to know what to look for on some of that stuff. Of course, some of them will get a disease, but they were quite healthy. If y'all remember, we had 8, and now we're down to 6. And, well, let me see. They're quite grown. The 2 I lost, or one of them was one that I really didn't want to lose. It was that Silver Lace Wyandotte that I got from my good friends and subscribers here on the channel. Found the poor thing dead in the nesting box in there. No visible marks or predation, but it was after all the thunderstorms had rolled through here, so the best thing I can, and it can happen, just died of fright some way or another. May have had some little old disease or something, but that was not one I wanted to lose. Of course, I don't want to lose any of them, but that one I was counting on to make us some pretty more babies. But life moves on, and it'll be all right, won't it? What are y'all doing, silly? Y'all got me long-winded tonight. I had to stop and let y'all play. Y'all want to say hello? Huh? We still have yet to name them. We got a couple of names pending, but they are they love their sissy too, and she has about all she can take of them jumping on her in the house sometimes. Hank, how are you, buddy? Huh? Old Tiny the rooster still doing fine. I'm about to pull another passel of eggs from out of here, and we're going to try to hatch and see what happens when a buff Brahma rooster breeds a Rhode Island red hen. Maybe we'll just get big old Rhode Island reds, all right? They are ready to go in the house. They know the milkman is home. Well, let's take a quick look at the garden, and I think we can pretty much call it an evening, right? I a little stressed out this week with the rain having me so far behind. Come on, Hank. And don't know how I'm all going to get it all done. Got a quick turnaround trip to make this weekend to celebrate a dear friend. I got not Mike, somebody else, but this won't be a going away thing. But anyway, I got to keep that quiet due to the nature of it. We'll talk about it later. We're going to make somebody happy this weekend. We'll just put it that way. But as I stress and worry, I think about that old executive over in Britain back at the turn of the century. Yeah, 1999. God, that sounds so wild. I'm from the 1900s, y'all. That makes me old. Oh, anyway, he had an ulcer, and his doctor advised that he stop worrying so much. Well, he didn't know what to do about that. He just had so much business to tend to, and as executives, what in the world is that book doing there? Old Hank's done drug it up. So he decided that he would allocate 1 day a week for worrying. He picked on Wednesday he would worry. So all through the week, in between Wednesdays, as a new worry or a new stressor would come up, he'd write it down on a piece of paper and he'd put it into his worry box. And then come Wednesday, that's when he'd deal with it. So he'd forget about it until then. Well, he started to notice that every Wednesday, when he'd open up that worry box and start going through the individual worries and stresses that he'd written down on those pieces of paper, they'd all been resolved. Nothing to do. And that's when he realized he was wasting his time worrying about so much stuff that usually ended up working themselves out on their own. Right? Well, this old book over here, Waylon's got not Waylon, but Hank's got a bad habit of roaming. Blankets and stuff he'll drag up. Remember the old, I don't know if that was a subscriber feed thing. He got an old boot, a little bitty boot from over the neighborhood over there. And I posted it on the neighbor app, but nobody ever claimed it. Now he's done drug up a book. Y'all see that? Looks like a Reader's Digest. Now, wait a minute. You got to be kidding me. So Hank's been reading, y'all. Hang on. That's how, where's the, oh, I got the camera wrong. You can't make this, look at this. What does that say? As the Crow Flies. Home Mountain. McKinnon's Machine. What's that last one, sissy? And, hang on. Seal Morning. That's why he was chasing them crows. He done read a book on them. Did you read a book on them crows, Hank? You are. What do you say about that? Oh, water soaked. I think I can dry it out. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I hate to throw away a good book. Especially since Hank brought it home to us. Waylon and the goat. Waylon don't know it won't be long. That goat will be having horns, and that'll be it. He ran into the chicken house. Sissy, we better go see what they're doing. He's getting rambunctious over there, huh? Let me do a quick roll call, and we'll call it an evening. I do want to say again, I appreciate all the shares and support. And my old lawnmower's still out there, y'all. Yep, it's still there. I know what it's going to take to fix it. Ain't going to take much, but had to allocate some other areas for the funds this last couple of weeks. There we go. I don't know where we went, but so silly thing. But potatoes are up, pinto beans are up, and we'll have corn up directly. All right. If y'all want to keep up with something, I was going to do a different kind of gardening this week, show the subscriber feed, but the rain kind of knocked us out of that rhythm. And now with news around, we've got to go another route. But if y'all want to subscribe, that always help out a little bit. Sissy will like it. She might even come and say hello at some point. That was a good Waylon, you're being bad, ain't you? Come here. Come here and say hi to everybody. Say hi to everybody. You better leave them goats alone. They're going to horn you one of these days. Hank, I don't know what to think about you, buddy. You're all right. You done read a book on crows and chased them out of the pasture, didn't you? Hank, the book reading, crow chasing dog. And he brought one boot home. Oh man, let me go back through these comments. We're going to call it an evening because I'm running out of daylight and them goats are ready to eat, I'm sure. They've been out all day in the pen. They probably ate a little grass, but they need a little vitamin D from that milk. Stephen, if you're still watching, I think that cleared up the bow legginess. I appreciate that tip. You got me. Well, thanks again to all the subscribers on the page. Got hello to Kenneth. Hey, buddy. Thanks, Karen, for that. That's all right. We'll do it. These old tin buildings are messing up these signals. Miss April saying prayers. Good to see you checking in, ma'am. There's Dennis. Hey, buddy. I always enjoy listening. Well, I appreciate you checking in and all the shares. Means a lot. There's Miss Bree. Yep, he is. He's in a better place. He was ready. Gene, I gotta tell him. This is just kind of man he was when we, I knew he'd called and then wanted me to come out there and talk with him. He wasn't in the horrible throes of Parkinson's, and of course he was having his struggles, but he was still coherent, cognitive, and easy to talk to as he was. But I went out and visited, and we just kind of did a little interview to capture all those old stories. But when I got there, it's just hadn't seen him in a while, and you make small talk, and you know what's coming. But I said, "Well, how you doing, bud?" He said, "Well, other than dying, I feel fine." That was like, it's hard to be. He made it hard to be sad around him, but that's a good thing, though, right? Always a joy. Yeah. I'll never forget one time we had gathered together. We was going to West Fest there north of Waco, big deal, kind of a carnival thing, and families were loaded up, and we all met at a house that we had helped restore after the explosion, and it was right next to the fairgrounds, and they was going to let us park in the yard. It's kind of one of the thank yous for helping out with the house. Anyway, I've learned so many coined phrases from him, but so we're all pulling up. We had cell phones, and you know the scene of a little fair or festival in a small town on a dirt road where the traffic is going to be a nightmare. It already is, but after the festival, it takes hours to get out of there. Well, we thought we had a special pass by parking in this little yard next to it. And as Mike's easing up to it, he called me on the cell phone. He said, "Y'all go ahead and park there if you'd like, but I have seen this movie, and I'd rather be home before midnight." Because he knew, even though we were parking close, we'd never get out of there. He had seen that movie. One of it, he had a big heart, community-minded, and we did a lot together. But I would always, something would happen, and I'd feel like we needed to get something done or step in and intervene and help somebody, and I'd call Mike and say, "Hey, man, what do you think about doing this?" He said, "Joel, slow down." He said, "Let's think it through." I said, "Well," I said, "I got a good idea." He said, "Stop right there." He said, Joe, every train wreck starts with somebody standing up and say, "Hey, I got a good idea." I can still hear him say it. So he would temper my my kind of get me grounded, then we'd come up with a plan of execution that would work. And that was always a good thing. Good man. All right, let me get through here. I'm going to talk about him all night if I don't keep talking. There's Stephanie checking in. Look, you've been sick, man. Praying for you. Good to see you're up and about today. Mr. Andrew from Interlaken caught me live. Thank you, sir. Thanks, Tammy. Good to see you checking in. Ken saying sorry. I appreciate all the well wishes, y'all. He's in a good place. You know, pray for the family, and they were prepared, and it's all gonna be all right. He wants us to smile and laugh and keep moving. I can promise you. Thank you, Dennis, for those kind words. There's Miss Chris from Louisiana. I think had a birthday yesterday. How are you? Good to see you checking in. There's Miss Barbara out in Midlothian, Texas. Still on that goat. I ain't seen no check for feed yet, so when I see that, I might can figure out a way to ship it to you. There's another West Virginia hillbilly once in the day. Lady Coal Miner wants to say sorry about your friend. Friends like that are a diamond in the rough in our lifetime. Yes, they are. And he certainly was. Spent a lot of time in Germany in the service. He loved over in Germany because it reminded him he lived in a little quaint village, and he said he just went full-on native, and he loved the community spirit over there. He said bartering was the new money. That's all right. That's all right, Chris. No need to be sad. He wouldn't want us to be. There's Betty. I'm trying to read them all, y'all. Debbie Garrison. Beliefs are so positive, and it's so good that you share your beliefs with all. God has blessed you. Painted Acres Farm, Baghdad, Kentucky. How about that? Well, thank you for that. Appreciate you checking in and following along, Debbie. Always good to. This little old channel kind of self-filters, and y'all can rest assured that I monitor it and got folks monitoring it, and you always get a chowderhead or two come in and cause a little ruckus in the comments, but they won't be there long. I promise. There's a time and a place for a little controversy, and in this comment string is not that time or the place. So they might get it off their chest, but that's where it'll die. Miss Suzanne checking in there. Let's see who else. Kimberly's catching me live from Parker County. I guess the weather's too pretty for signal today. It keeps glitching out on me. I'm sorry for the pauses, y'all. Susan's in Seguin, Texas. And let's see, Miss Sue Straub, good to see you. That's a subscriber. Thank you for that support. Caught me live tonight. Yes, ma'am. Appreciate your support. Thank you for those kind words, Susan Thomas. But yeah, y'all keep plugging, and we'll get through the weekend. It's a beautiful day in Texas. I think spring is officially here for sure. That pecan tree's in full bud mode. But got a few more chores to do that can't do with the camera in the hand. Wish I could. I guess I need to get one of them things. No, I don't want to do that. I'll just hold the camera. If I can't do it with the camera, then the camera doesn't need to be on. That's just how I see it, right? Well, y'all stay positive and make a little difference in the world around you. Maybe just the 5 feet you're in at the moment. You never know who it'll affect. How positive that little smile can be. Be the light. We'll check in with you next time. Good night.